What are your thoughts on how games could balance the competitive and casual? And do you think coming in hot with a really strong competitive support or tournament support is that the recipe success for a game, or is that something that might detract from it because it would push away casuals?
So I think the community, although it can be pushed by the company itself making the game, most of the competitive versus casual is going to come down to your local game store.
Mm,
The side of the company trying to fix it though is we'll put out this big tournament every year or so many
mhm,
qualifying events every year, and that's to promote a healthy scene. Battle Spirits Vegas tournament is $1 million prize pool, I think.
yeah, it's a
I
lot.
think first place gets $100,000. That's crazy to me. That's
Mhm.
insane.
It is
It,
insane.
it makes me want to pick it up because I'm a competitive player. But on the same edge, I think you have to think of the IPs and what their target demographic is. So the
Mm,
biggest example is the game Pokemon. Very simple game to play. It's very, very simple because they know that their target audience is kids, parents, and people who love Pokemon. Of course, there's going to be more competitive players,
right.
but if you have two kids who want to play this game in a tournament, they can, and they're not going to feel bad. They also have different age brackets, which I think is huge. Yu-Gi-Oh did it too with Dragon Duels and stuff. I think the biggest thing is if you introduce kids to your game, give them a space to play, and as they grow older, they can grow into the competitive stuff. I think it's just a healthy market. And I mean, people can have fun with it too. I mean, you'll get Magic with Commander.
Mhm.
People be, oh, what power level is your Commander deck? And people are, I'm playing some sort of janky three. And I have something for that. And then
Yeah.
you're, okay, that's cool. Or it's, yeah, I'm a 10, I'm playing ridiculous stuff in this deck. And then
Mhm.
it's okay, I guess we're trying hard, or I'm just not going to play with you.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
But that's more on the communities than anything, I think. So if local
Mhm.
game stores can, for Lurkana, we're getting 3 starter decks. So on release, I want to see a starter deck tournament because there's no competitive edge to people having
Mhm.
packs and stuff. It's good to support the game by spending money, but it's also good to support the people that aren't going that ham into it.
Mhm.
And then like trial deck tournaments are so easy to do.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's you buy a trial deck, you get entered into the tournament, and you win. And you can even do it like hack per win or something. It's not.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be too competitive. But then in the same breath, I would there to be competitive tournaments as well. You just need a mix.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we might be a little biased in this aspect just because we both are kind of a little bit more competitive. We've been involved in the
Oh
competitive
yeah,
sides of games. We're like, oh, competitive is really important. But I think one thing I've been trying to think about more lately is how important the casual side of things are,
yeah.
especially for card games. Is they're kind of the invisible majority where so many of they won't go to card shops and stuff, but they'll buy packs or buy trial decks and enjoy the game in their own space, maybe with their
Hmm.
families, maybe with some friends, but not adventure out into, other aspects of the game, like going to competitive tournaments and stuff. And I'm really glad you brought up Battle Spirits because I thought that was a really interesting example since it's a Bandai game and it's coming out shortly after One Piece, which they're
Yeah.
obviously not supporting nearly as much in terms of competitive prize pool. And so you have to wonder if they're not sure Battle Spirits will do that well, and they may be like juicing up the prize pool to get people to try it out and get into the game where they're okay. Well, One Piece, that IP is, it's a huge IP, so you don't really need to juice it as much. But you also wonder how much more people would go crazy if they got that huge prize pool in One Piece. And I would say I consider it maybe a bit of a failure launch, is Flesh and Blood. People will
Yeah.
argue with me. I consider it a failure because I think you talk to the average TCG player, oh, I kind of heard of that. And they've got massive prize pools, and there's definitely a very focus on competitive play. The game's designed around competitive play. We talked about using cards multiple ways. Vanguard
Mhm.
has two, One Piece has two. Flesh and Blood has three. You use it to pay for costs, you can use it for defense, you can use it to play it, but they also have three different variations of each different card because some of them have their stronger power, but they don't give you as much to pay for your other cards costs. It's a lot. I don't
It's
think it's very
complicated.
casually friendly to be bombarded with, oh, there's so many cards, and why are my cards that are the same different? It's
Hmm.
definitely a lot, and I feel if you think about in the grand scheme of things, there's the general populace. Very, very small subsection of that is people who enjoy TCGs. And then if those people are kind of, yeah, I kind of heard Flesh and Blood, but I don't know where to play it or how to play it or whatever. It's living, but it's not really successful in my mind because I feel no one's even heard of it, even
Yeah.
within the realm that should have.
I think a big thing with a card game though is you want to be simply complicated rather than complicatedly simply.
Yeah, that's a
If
good
that
one.
makes sense to you guys. Your game, I think the most successful games are so simple they become complicated. When you
Hmm.
look at Yu-Gi-Oh, the thought of Yu-Gi-Oh is I summon monster, I set trap, I can
Hmm.
activate spell. If I deal 8,000 damage to you, I win. It's super simple. But then once they keep adding more stuff and more stuff, you kind of find ways around the simplicity to make it
Hmm.
complicated. But I think that's the biggest thing with promoting a competitive scene while also keeping it casuals. Casuals can still play the I normal summon a monster, I set my
Right.
two traps, I swing at you, and then oh you fell for my trap card, haha, and then
Yeah.
you move on. And then, but on the competitive aspect, it gets really complicated, and that turns off casual players.
Hmm.
But if there's still a space for casual players to still play their game, they're fine with it. They're not. I'm quitting Yu-Gi-Oh because this format's awful. I still love playing Yu-Gi-Oh because the anime is cool and the dude
Yeah.
plays the trap card, and so Mirror
Yeah.
Force.